Morning, everyone. Well, I bet you tuned in this morning expecting to hear our very own Mary Kennedy in a musical performance. And to start off on just a little bit of a sad note, Mary wasn't able to join us this morning because she found out that she lost her grandmother this morning, who was on hospice care. She was super excited to perform. We plan on having her perform at our next event. But if you know Mary and want to send her a note, letting her know that she's in your thoughts today, I'm sure she would appreciate that. Also, to kind of switch gears a little bit from a somber note to a happy one, this is going to be kind of impromptu, but I would like our CEDA staff that is joining me on Zoom this morning to unmute their microphones. And I would like us to sing happy birthday to our very own Allison Wagner. So from one musical performance that's not happening to a new impromptu musical performance, we want to keep you entertained in this meeting, even virtually. So those of you on the Zoom call, if you could unmute and let's sing happy birthday to Allison. And 1 and a 2 and a 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Allison. Happy birthday to you. Perfect. See, you guys are entertained. I know it.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Happy birthday. Welcome, everybody, to the 2020 annual meeting for Community and Economic Development Associates, or as most of you know us, CEDA. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us virtually today, as this is being live streamed on both YouTube and Facebook. I want to send a special thank you to our Vice President of Marketing and Business Development, Joya Stetson, and all her work in helping us get this set up. When everything happened with COVID-19 and we knew we weren't going to be able to gather, we had a lot of discussions about whether this meeting would actually take place or if we should cancel or just how this should happen. And Joe was one that stepped to the forefront and said, no, I think people have grown accustomed to hearing about the awesome things that our staff is doing, and I'd still like to bring them that information. And there's a way we can do this virtually. So she worked really hard to figure out how to allow us to have this meeting in a little bit different way, but still have it and bring you the awesome things that, that our team is doing. Again, I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your crazy schedules to join us this morning. Our world is weird right now, and we're having to make a lot of adjustments on the fly, all of us, in our everyday lives, in our work lives, in our personal lives, everything. And so, you know, there's probably going to be some bumps and glitches along the road in getting things done, but I am impressed every single day with the ingenuity and the resilience that I'm seeing in people all around me. And our team is working extra hard to maintain the strong connection with both our communities and our businesses right now, even though we can't always do that in person. I know our team is constantly trying to connect virtually, connect on the phone, and when necessary, live and in person to pick up information or deliver information to help keep our businesses connected with resources that are out there, get them information on programs that are happening or changes in requirements, and basically just talk them through answers to their questions. The team, I know, is struggling because they miss their communities, they miss the staffs that they work with and the boards that they work with on a regular basis, but we're all making it through. We're making the adjustments every way that we can, and we're still trying to do everything each one of us can possibly do to help in this time of crisis and weirdness in the world. So I want to thank our team very much from the bottom of my heart. I know our management team all feel the same. We appreciate going above and beyond in a lot of cases to continue to bring the great level of service that you do each and every day to your communities. Like I said, the world is weird, and doing this virtually, those of you that know me know I don't prepare a great deal to give speeches. I kind of speak from the cuff and from the heart most of the time, and it doesn't get me in trouble usually, but not having you guys to interact with and see your faces as I'm speaking is a little bit different. So I tried to prepare some notes and talk from those. So we'll see how that goes. But you know, one of the nice things about doing this virtually is you guys in the audience don't know if I spilled my coffee all over everything here this morning when I sat down. You don't know that. And you don't know if I'm in my pajama bottoms as long as I remember not to stand up, right? So we'll make it through this together. Again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the efforts of all of you to continue to be rock stars for your communities and go out there and run through walls for your businesses and your residents to help them cope with all of the changes in their worlds right now. We couldn't do this if we didn't have awesome partners. When you tuned in, you probably saw some slides of our funding partners. We can't bring you the services that we do. We can't do the things for both our communities and our businesses without all of them. So we'd like to thank them. Our board has allowed us some flexibility to be able to bring our communities the services that they're used to. And we want to thank our board members a great deal for kind of going with the flow and helping us kind of navigate these unprecedented waters alongside us. And then of course we have our partners that we're working with to bring the resources and information to both our communities and our businesses as well. I want to start today with one specific example of connecting our businesses with resources that can help them in this time. I would like to highlight the partnership between CEDA and the state of Minnesota to process applications for the state's Small Business Emergency Loan Program. And joining us today to give us some highlights from this program from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development is Drew Lindorfer. DEED is working alongside CEDA and a couple dozen other partner lenders across the state to bring this program. And so with that, I would like to introduce Drew to give you some of the highlights that are being accomplished with that program.
Thanks so much. I'm hoping that this is working. I haven't done a lot of these Zoom presentations yet. Okay, great. So yeah, I just thank you so much for having me today and getting to talk about the work that DEED is doing in this unusual time. I did just want to mention quickly because in the Office of Business Finance, we've got 2 different programs that we've been working on in response to the COVID closures. So the first one is the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program. And that is based on loans made by banks, credit unions, and nonprofit lenders, and they are able to enroll in the program, and then DEED will provide a 80% guarantee up to $200,000. There are some restrictions on the loan use for that. And then moreover, I wanted to talk about the program that CEDA has been such a wonderful partner during this time, which is the Small Business Emergency Loan Program. I've been administering that program, and it has been really wonderful to work with all of the lenders across the state of Minnesota. We were fortunate at DEED to have an existing network of nonprofit lenders around the state, which really greatly helped us roll out this program very quickly. And just to talk a little about the purpose of the program. So the order that the governor had, Executive Order 2004, which was the one that shut down bars, restaurants, fitness, recreation, entertainment centers, and salons, in response to that, the governor also created a new program that would support those businesses with loans in the $5 to $30 or $2,500 to $35,000 range. The legislature allocated $30 million for that program. You know, we've so far through, I think today, are at around 950 loans and are almost through our allocation of funding for the program. We've been very pleased to see that Greater Minnesota has had about an equal number of loans to the Metro through the program. And that really speaks highly to the network and the abilities of organizations like CEDA to work quickly and to get into those smaller communities. I have, you know, gotten to take a look at most of these loans, and it's been really great to see just the smaller businesses in the smaller towns, sometimes places where you're looking at the only restaurant that's in a community, and to be able to do something to help out with that has been wonderful. The other thing that we really relied upon CEDA and the other lenders in the program for was, you know, help in making sure that we had some guidelines that were consistent for the program, and to make sure that we were able to serve businesses equitably around the state. And so that has been really a valuable part of this partnership, as we've developed this a little bit on the fly. So I think that's small business emergency loan. The other thing of interest, I know there's been obviously more interest in the program than there have been of funds available. The legislature was talking about some additional emergency business funding before they adjourned, and they did not come to an agreement before adjourning, but there's strong interest in providing additional assistance, and we are hoping that they will come to an agreement during special session. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. We appreciate the partnership and everything that the state is doing to help allow us to continue to work with the businesses in our communities and help them connect to resources that can help them make it through this very difficult time for all of them. With our two major functions each year, of course, in the spring, like this meeting today, is our annual meeting. At our annual meeting, our goal is to bring you some information on things that our team members are doing in some of our communities. We want to highlight a few of them each year. And hopefully, you know, that gets all of our other communities and our partners thinking about things that could happen in their communities as well. And then at our funder reception, partnership reception in the fall, we like to do more of a inspirational speaker kind of a theme. So staying in line with what we like to do at our annual meeting, even though this year we're not connected in the same room, which I do want to mention. We had another phenomenal rural meeting venue lined up just outside of one of our new communities in Pine Island that we just started working with to host our event this year. We were disappointed with everything that we weren't able to get everybody together there, because we know that you would all love it, but we're hoping that we can use that venue again, get that venue lined up again when we are all able to gather and celebrate together in one space. We know you'll be excited to join us there. So in line with our annual meeting presentations, I would like to introduce 6 of our staff members that will be presenting on 4 different topics today, starting with a topic that I think in all of our rural communities we talk a lot about, and there is a great need for, and that's succession planning. As you look up and down many main streets in rural communities, you see business owners, long standing business owners that, you know, are kind of fixtures of the community. And as those folks look to retire and move on to the next phases of their lives, you know, one of the most important factors for all of us that work in economic development in rural communities is figuring out how those businesses continue to exist in our communities. And one of the ways to take a proactive approach in doing that is through succession planning. One of our staff, a number of our staff have done presentations over the years on succession planning, but one of the staff that has highlighted succession planning recently is Annie Leibel, and I would like to invite Annie to share with you a presentation on the importance of succession planning in rural America. Annie, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Chris, for the introduction. I'm so excited to be here this morning to talk to you guys about succession planning. I'm a community and business development specialist for CEDA. I serve Faribault County and the city of Winnebago. I'm going to take a second here to share my screen real quick so you can see the presentation. It looks like I am unable to share my screen. I'm getting an error message. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
I'm sure it'll just take a second. Joya's probably working on allowing that.
Try now, Annie.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so today I'll be presenting on succession planning for small businesses. I think succession planning is really a very difficult topic for a lot of our small business owners to even consider. Whether it's just trying to find time to focus on succession planning or worrying about the risk that's involved in the transition itself, worrying about competitors finding out about the sale of a business or a lack of confidentiality surrounding the process. It's also sometimes difficult to find a credible valuation source or write an estate plan or creating a will, thinking about the legacy that a business owner will instill in the business, considering what the owner will do after retirement, and how the business will function through a transition. But as our baby boomers begin to retire, it's going to be even more critical for all of our business owners to consider what they can do and how the EDA can help them. So I think the first thing EDAs can do is to make succession planning a priority. So in Faribault County, the EDA started talking about succession planning at their monthly meetings. We talked about local resources, available businesses, recent sales, and we got the conversation started. Sometimes business owners get nervous about talking with others and the trust issues surrounding succession planning. So we made sure to make it a public conversation that people felt comfortable getting started with. We also gathered our community resources and tried to share a unified message. We engaged community leaders by going to local meetings and talking to city administrators, city councilmen, and other city EDA boards to encourage further conversation about succession planning. And our next step was to host an information session. So we collaborated regionally to host the event because we were worried we couldn't get enough people to come talk about succession planning. We promoted it as much as possible. We had it on Facebook, in the newspaper, and we even handed out save the date cards. We would hand multiple save the date cards to each person we met because we knew the personal connection of them inviting someone else would really get people to the event. We also engaged businesses and community leaders by going to their door, coming to their meetings, and talking about the importance of succession planning. We also decided to call it a workshop instead of an information session, just because business owners are action-oriented people. We wanted this workshop to be interactive for them and for them to be able to learn something and also relate that right back to their business. We cross-referenced the meeting with other local events, fall harvest, and we made sure to try and capture business owners right after the workday, offer appetizers, and keep the meeting pretty short. So we kept it at about 90 minutes. Jennifer Hawkins from the University of Minnesota Extension came to present on the topic, and we had a great turnout. There were a variety of businesses and communities represented. The workshop sparked additional questions, and we could tell our business owners wanted more. They stayed after the meeting to ask questions and talk to their other neighbors and see what they were doing for succession planning. So before we went any further, we created an email list from the attendees and began sharing monthly tips and reminders on local resources and ways that they can keep succession planning in the forefront of their minds. And our next step, we joined a pilot initiative with the University of Minnesota Extension and Vision One Performance Group called Enhancing Readiness for Business Succession. It was a 10-week program. The city of Northfield, Blue Earth, and Faribault County participated. And there were 5 virtual sessions held with Extension Office and Vision One. And on the weeks in between, the business owners met with their local economic development professional to dedicate specific time to work through a workbook that, once put together, was a skeleton succession plan for the business to continue to work on and improve and change over time. Now I'm going to start a video from Lori Moen from Vision One that explains a little bit more about the program and the goals that we had.
So the goals of this program, of this transition planning 10-week course, was to educate and to inform small business owners of the strategy of transitioning from their business and working on their business to get it ready to pass on, whether it be to family, maybe it's to a competitor, it might be to another person in the community that wants to own their own business. It takes work to get your business ready to transition, but you don't have to just close your doors. There are choices out there. And when you're a small business owner, sometimes it's hard to know what those choices are because you're so busy running your business, you don't know where to turn. And that's really what this partnership with the University of Minnesota Extension Studies and Vision One came together to do, was to provide resources to communities to help keep their downtowns, their local community business centers vital.
So the 10-week program sparked a lot of additional questions for business owners, and we were able to focus in on personal readiness, business attractiveness, leadership transition, purchase options, and the mentorship legacy component that is so important for our small businesses. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about each one. I think I really undervalued personal readiness at first, and I think as EDAs, it's easy to do that. We don't take a lot of time to focus on the existing owner when we're spending all of our time trying to find a new owner and ensure some stability. But I think we can get business owners to start planning earlier if we engage them in this personal readiness process first. Talking to them about how their income and spending habits might change once they retire might influence them to start planning and thinking about what they'll do after they exit the business. I think this conversation can really ensure future stability for the business and for the person themselves. Another important part about succession planning is business attractiveness. How is your business planning to encourage a new owner to come on board? One thing that is really important is having a concrete business mission and values to go along with this. When a mission statement and values are easily defined for your business, it can be embraced by employees and customers alike. And a new owner is able to take that mission and continue it on once the existing owner transitions. There are also a number of value-added drivers that businesses can think about to increase attractiveness and possibly the sale of your business. Whether it's employee retention or having an adequate labor supply, or if you have a very good key systems management and are continuously improving, or you might have strengths in branding and marketing or really strong customer relations. Some of these things can really help to add to your business. It's the little things that count when we're talking about succession planning for our small communities. We're also looking at a growth mindset. Is your business growing year after year? And are there other opportunities to grow or diversify? I worked with a business last year in Faribault County in Winnebago. It was a hardware store, Rorik Hardware, and the owner was getting ready to retire. And he decided to purchase some land next door to his business in the hopes that a new owner would be able to use that to start a garden center. When a new owner takes over, they might not have a lot of extra money to start something like this, but having the land already available made it easy to start a garden center this year. They had some record-breaking days, and it was so nice to see the community rally around a garden center for their community. Leadership transition is also very important. We talked about it a lot in the 10-week course. How will a smooth transition be ensured? Whether you're the sole owner and employee, or if there are other defined leadership roles in your organization, how can you transfer those connections to your employees and future owners? It's important to start planning for these early and considering if there are other employees that can step up, how can they take on additional leadership roles? There are also a number of purchase options, and this is probably what a lot of business owners start thinking about when they consider succession planning. While business owners may choose to close their doors, they can also look at selling to a private individual, another employee, a family member, considering an employee stock ownership plan, or selling to a private equity. I think it's important to have these conversations early so that business owners can really consider all of their options. If they don't have conversations with their employees and their family members, there's no way to truly know if they are ready or willing to take something like this on. Mentorship and legacy is also a huge part of succession planning. Business owners should begin to consider what type of legacy they want to leave for your business. And I think this really goes back again to the mission statement and values. Are they instilled in the work that you do? And how can you transition them to a new owner? There's also a mentorship component that is so key to ensuring a stable transition. It's not about just ensuring a smooth transition, but also how your hard work can be continued. An existing owner can act as a resource to new owners, and I think it's important to discuss that involvement level even before the transition itself. I wanted to share a couple of quotes with you. The first is from our Faribault County EDA president. He was involved in the succession planning course for his business, Herman Manufacturing in Wells, Minnesota. He said, "I think a lot of people in businesses would benefit from this course. The time it takes to sit in the online classes and the homework is small compared to the amount of time and effort that will be needed to actually and properly implement a successful transition. Especially if you take into account that some of us will have spent our lives, maybe 40 or 50 years, building what we have with hopes that it will continue as we had hoped it would." I also received a quote from Mark Meyer. He was also involved in the succession planning course and was involved in the planning and implementation of the workshop we held. He's the owner of Cedar Inn in Blue Earth, Minnesota, and he said, "Succession planning is important to any business, whether transitioning ownership soon or well into the future. It is a needed step in the success of any business. helping to set long-term and short-term goals to ensure the business will live on through change and crisis. This process has shown me the need for written plans, goals, and processes. I have also identified key roles and key employees in my company and see the need to lock these in. Planning early is important to me to make sure my business can live on if something unexpected happens to me. And I think that's a part of succession planning that we don't always consider. If there comes a day when a business owner is no longer able to run their business, are we able to plan and create documents so that that business can be continued instead of closing unexpectedly like that? Succession planning is a constantly evolving topic that EDAs can continue to build on. In Faribault County, our next steps are to build a network of transition team members. We want to keep a listing of our accountants, financial advisors, bankers, and other key players, and connect them to each other to encourage similar language and similar message sharing across all succession planning topics. We'd also like to create a brochure so that we can share these with others and encourage referrals across all succession planning networks. Another thing we're looking at doing is creating a countywide owner succession loan program. While we already have the ability to have gap financing, we would like to encourage certain things like mentorship from the existing owner and a financial stake so that we can encourage future stability and growth through the company. I think every community can start with gathering their succession plan team. I think that's the best way to get started. Make sure we're all sharing a unified message, engaging our community leaders so that it becomes a public, comfortable, trusting conversation that we can have with our businesses. I think hosting a workshop for business owners can also get them on board and encourage an early start. And I think using past succession planning stories to help guide future programs is key to growing and continuing this work. And while succession planning is a difficult topic, local EDAs can gather resources and walk businesses through this process to ensure future stability and continuity for years to come. I'm going to quickly share my contact information in case anyone has any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it back over to the next presentation.
Thank you so much, Annie. Great presentation. Like I said, succession planning is so important, especially for those of us working in rural communities. And the interesting part of it is that, like Annie said, it's not one size fits all. It's different for each business. How they transition from one owner to the next is unique to them. So organizing resources and having that conversation happen individually with each business is hugely important. I would also like to share, like Annie said, she put up her contact information briefly at the end of her presentation. At the end of our meeting today, I have a slide that has all of our presenters' contact information on it. So if you want to get a hold of them after this meeting to get further information on their topic, there will be a number of ways to get their contact information so that you can do that. One of the foundations that CEDA, originally Southeastern Minnesota Development Corporation, was founded on was grant writing. And that continues to be a huge part of what we do today. In fact, within the last couple of years, we've grown our grant department from a department of 1 to a department of 3. And that department has taken on a number of responsibilities, not only with the specific grant programs that we work with each year, and also the specific grant programs that we work with for our communities, but also in just research and navigation of all the programs that are out there and organizing them into one place that makes it usable for our staff and, of course, ultimately for our communities and our businesses. So to tell you a little bit more about the changes in our grant writing department at CEDA is our community grant specialist, Abby Wright. Abby, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Wright, Community Grant Specialist with CEDA. And today I'll be introducing you to the CEDA Grant Department, what we do, what we have done, and what's on the horizon. This includes the creation of behind-the-scenes grant tools and resources to help CEDA team members find and author their own community grants, CEDA grant writing on behalf of rural communities, and grant writing for our own fundraising. As Chris said, CEDA was founded with Small Cities Development Program grant writing as our primary service. For over 25 years, Michelle Vries was CEDA's grant expert before she retired last year, and she still helps us out sometimes. In 2018, CEDA expanded its grant department by 2 full-time employees, Allison Wagner and me. At the same time, Courtney Burgess Swanson, now our Vice President of Collaborative Services, had been promoted to Director of Community Engagement to spearhead CEDA's grant efforts and strategies to ensure our continued success, which she continues to do in her current role. Allison is our Small Cities Development Program Specialist for CEDA, my counterpart, and our grant expert for the Small Cities Development Program, a competitive federal and state-funded grant that cities may use to address local slum and blight in low-income areas. The program at CEDA involves not only authoring, but dispersing the grants over the 2-year granting period. SCDP has brought in millions of dollars to various communities. Right now, there are over 100 open SCDP projects, and CEDA is dispersing over $3 million. The grant department is sort of split into 2 parts, since Courtney's and my roles are very different from SCDP, though I've been doing some training in SCDP this year. There are 30 of us CEDA folks, and we author grants. We each author grants and serve as economic development staff in at least 1 rural community. As you may have noticed in the last slide, Courtney, Allison, and I serve in Spring Grove, Houston County, and Mantorville, respectively. Most of staff are community and business development specialists who occasionally author grants as part of their community work. As CEDA's community grant specialist, my primary roles are to help my colleagues, rural communities, and the organization with grants. So what does that look like? Helping the team means helping our communities. Researching grants and navigating the application process are time-consuming within our community contracts. So the grant department supports our team by answering questions, providing examples, putting in some time to help with some initial grant research, reviewing and providing feedback on grant drafts, creating, collecting, and sharing quality grant training and information resources, and keeping consistent, organized files and folders of these resources, including sample proposals completed by team members, as well as other tools and templates. You may have seen the monthly community grants bulletin at some point, probably in your EDA packet. It's a list of grant deadlines 3.5 months out with links to each program. We've been researching grant prospects and producing these bulletins for 1.5 years, and now have a fairly static, established list of what to expect each year. What you see here is the master bulletin and probably the last issue that will be sent out to the CEDA team. Each color represents the CEDA region, including the non-highlighted grants, which are Minnesota statewide. The reason this is color-coded and the reason it's the last issue of the bulletin is because a new tool is being developed from this research. I received feedback from some of our team members, and I agree that the CGB would be easier to use if the grants were A, more clearly separated or easier to see which ones a community is eligible for, and B, had some further description that doesn't require researching each link. This has led to the creation of the Community Grants Database, or CGD, a live tool to optimize each CEDA rep's grant research to save them time in their community contracts. It was designed with maximum usability and efficiency in mind for finding, tracking, organizing, and identifying grants that are compatible with your community's needs, projects, and eligibility. I'll kind of show you how this works and how it can save each CEDA representative time in his or her community contracts. In the coming weeks, each CEDA person will receive this 1-page table of contents for the database. The purpose, like I said, is to optimize finding grants and maximize usability. So to start, each CEDA person can find his or her grant spreadsheet in the fewest clicks, alphabetical, by the county or counties in which they work. People who work in the same county will share a spreadsheet, and people who serve in multiple counties will still have all their information in one sheet for convenience. For example, as you can see, for Goodhue County, we have Ron, who works in Red Wing and Goodhue County, Shell, who's in Lake City, Ryan in Zumbrota, and Laura in Cannon Falls. They all work in Goodhue County, so say that Ryan in Zumbrota wants to find out what grants could help fund repairs to the covered bridge. He would click Goodhue County because Zumbrota is there, and this will open up his section of the database. Now each spreadsheet has two tabs, calendar of deadlines and prospects in detail. It's easier to start with the calendar of deadlines, so let's check that out. These are labeled consistent with the table of contents, so we find Goodhue County again. As you can see, the calendar of deadlines is basically the community grants bulletin, but it's very clean with only grants that are applicable to each CEDA person's region and county or counties within that region. Okay, so Ryan sees that Rochester Area Foundation has a Better Communities grant deadline coming up in August with a letter of intent due in July. To get more insight on that grant program, he can go directly to the program website by clicking on either of the links here, or he can go back to the database, to the Prospects in Detail tab, find the foundation alphabetically in the left column, and see all the pertinent information on one screen without having to scroll over to the right. All the information is in one place, including the program name, the funding priorities, and the award amount. The hours estimated for grant completion column on the right will be populated later, and the one on the far right for relevancy is for CEDA folks to note what is best for their community projects. Federal and state grant, oops. Sorry. Federal and state grant lists specific to COVID. Federal and state grant lists are also in this spreadsheet. So we have Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota and federal grants. And we do have some COVID-19 information here, but most of it is in a special place, not within the database. All CEDA employees can view any of these spreadsheets at any time, and they will have editing access to the spreadsheets that are applicable to where they are, so they can use the database as a tracking tool if they want. In case there's a granting foundation in their community that I don't know about, for instance, they can add it in, and we can both maintain the most comprehensive and up-to-date grant records for your geographic area. Also, part of what we do in the grant department is respond to internal research-related questions and requests. So part of the database will have all the grant-related team questions and answers in one spot. This Q&A section will allow for a more collaborative conversation that can be updated live. The questions that I pulled from emails so far span 6 pages right now, and the nuances of special database features like this are part of a future phase of the project being developed over time. In the coming weeks, every CEDA staff will be able to access their spreadsheet with the calendar of deadlines and the prospects in detail for their geographic territory. And they can also view the other spreadsheets to look for collaborative opportunities with other CEDA staff and communities. Every aspect of the CGD has been designed very intentionally for easy view, access, and use. If you have questions, I'll have my contact information at the end of the presentation. The CGD will help communities indirectly, but the CEDA grant department helps communities directly too. Every rural community has fundraising needs. Communities recognize the need to invest in their long-term success and kickstart a project, but they may not have the 400 to 400 hours of time and expertise to navigate through a grant application and craft a quality proposal within their administration, nor do many small municipalities have the finances to hire a professional grant writer at the typical rate. Since CEDA is a nonprofit organization, all of our services, including grant writing, are affordable for many communities who would not be able to receive these services otherwise. As I've said, CEDA was founded in grant writing, and over the years, CEDA has secured over $50 million in grant funding for our clients, and dozens of rural communities have been able to complete projects from parks and recreation to municipal infrastructure to festival support. Since this time last May, CEDA employees have authored $5.25 million in grants for our communities. A notable project we authored was a $672,000 business development public infrastructure grant from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, DEED, for the city of Kenyon to fund streets, water, sewer, and electric utilities to build a new industrial park that is expected to create 60 jobs in 5 years. Another CEDA-authored grant project was awarded nearly $2.9 million this year, the largest of 30 funded requests around the state to DEED's border-to-border broadband grant program. CEDA completed the application on behalf of one of our longstanding partners, Ascentech, a communications company headquartered in City of Houston, Minnesota. A loan from the Houston County EDA plus Ascentech's own investment equated to a 70% match of the total eligible project cost to bring fiber optic internet to 1,000 places where residents, farmers, and business owners in rural areas of Houston and Winona counties reside. This was a really exciting project because hundreds of people expressed to us that high-speed internet will allow them and their family members to bank and manage their healthcare online, telework, stream videos, and conduct faster research for homework, jobs, or to self-educate. I gotta say, it's really gratifying to play a pivotal role in projects like these because the need is real and we know that we're making a lot of people's lives better. Last but not least, all of this would not be possible without our partners. As a 501c3 nonprofit organization, CEDA relies on our donors, so we actively seek opportunities to author grants for CEDA to continue to thrive and grow as an organization. For example, this year we were awarded $144,000 from DEED for Harvest Entrepreneur Network, aka HEN, a new innovative program to connect rural entrepreneurs, which you'll learn about in the next presentation very shortly. We have some benefactors who generously support us year after year, and we are very grateful to all of our donors who allow CEDA to operate and innovate. This year, we're actively exploring new additional partnerships too by sharing our work and engaging new funders. Thanks for your time today. And if you have questions, feel free to get in touch with me or any CEDA representative. Thanks again.
Thank you, Abby. Phenomenal information, like I said, in every one of our communities, we're looking for ways to help them fund projects that they're trying to get done to make themselves the best community they can be. And what a transition, Abby. Yes, our next presentation is about the Harvest Entrepreneur Network, or HEN. Like Abby mentioned, we do a ton of work within our communities that contract with us, but we also take on initiatives that span beyond the borders of those communities and look for other ways to help and assist in growing entrepreneurship opportunities in rural America. To highlight the Harvest Entrepreneur Network are our very own Robert Harris and Courtney Berge Swanson. Robert and Courtney, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks to all of our colleagues who have given presentations today. My name is Courtney, and I work as the Vice President of Development and Collaborative Services. And I'm presenting today with my colleague, Robert, who's our technical guru. So he's going to be running our slideshow. Robert, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. I'm Robert Harris. I'm a Community and Business Development Specialist here at CEDA, and you'll be hearing from me a little bit later in this presentation.
Thank you. So the Harvest Entrepreneur Network is one of CEDA's newest programs. And like Abby mentioned, it was provided funding from DEED that helped us launch this. And we lovingly refer to it as HEN, and we're excited to share more with you today. So what is HEN? You know, the whole idea for this program kind of started when we went back to the rural communities that we work in. And we know that agriculture is a really big part of the economy. Historically, and right now, especially, we wanted to make sure that agriculture is not being ignored as part of the regional economies we work in. And CEDA itself, as an organization dedicated to small businesses and rural communities, already has a lot of the tools that we know farmers as entrepreneurs need. We help with business planning, financial management, grant writing, and we really wanted to try to figure out a way to use our skills to help some of the farmers who might be a little bit more isolated. They might be outside of city limits. They might not have the time or the resources to seek out some of the entrepreneurial assets in larger urban areas. So we came up with a new program and we're generously awarded a grant from DEED, and we are excited to kind of look at what we're helping our entrepreneurs accomplish and some of the programs that go along with it. So kind of a broad overview of the 3 goals of HEN are really, first of all, to help small businesses, to help farmers and agricultural entrepreneurs in rural areas, help them scale their businesses, help them learn more about what they need, help them be sure to make sure they can be profitable and scalable. And so really the focus has been on the entrepreneurs. We also really want to make sure that we're educating folks. And so we have been working with partners and experts in the field to provide workshops and resources that maybe aren't available as readily in rural communities. And Robert will touch on those in just a minute. And lastly, we really wanted to build community. We know that people do better when they're talking with their peers, they're learning from each other, and we saw a real need to strengthen and provide some density and richness to some of the communities of the networks that we're building around the state. And so we thought it would be kind of interesting to show you some of the farmers who we've already been helping since we launched our first cohort. So because we're talking about agriculture, if you thought you'd get out of the meeting without seeing cute pictures of goats, you were sorely mistaken. This photo kind of helps to start the story of one of the businesses that I've had the pleasure of working with. So the story starts about 20 years ago when a little girl named Katie wrote an essay to a contest for her local 4-H chapter in rural Houston County. And she won the essay. So her prize, you know, growing up, I won plastic trophies and t-shirts. Katie won a goat. She won a live goat, and she named the goat Blossom. And over the next several decades, she grew her herd, all of them kind of paying homage to Blossom as the matriarch. And she grew her passion for raising goats. She grew her passion for goat milk. And when she got into her 20s, she decided she wanted to learn more about making cheese. So Katie went to Italy and studied artisan goat cheese making. And she has grown a really successful business, and her cheese is incredible. She has been featured in many local and regional grocery stores, high-scale restaurants. She has a farm in Lewiston that she operates now, but she does distribute all throughout kind of the region. And her cheese has really kind of become a hot item in a lot of restaurants and specialty grocery stores. But like many farmers, Katie's passion is her animals and her craft, and it's not spreadsheets and business planning. So that's where we wanted to come in and help her. So I've been working with Katie to kind of create a plan for making a new business plan that will develop some tracking systems for her orders. It will hopefully create a new website and a marketing campaign that we can use to tell the story of her and her cheese, and hopefully get more product out to the people who really want it. And another business that we're helping, our colleague Chris Hahn is working with Cereal Farms down in Preston, Minnesota. This business was started by Andrew and Jenny, who had kind of an interesting dilemma that many of us Minnesotans probably face, and that They just wanted to eat a good BLT that didn't have to be in late August and early September when tomato season is at its peak. So they decided to build a hydroponic greenhouse operation, and they've had enormous success. They grow tomatoes and herbs and lettuce. I will say I actually had a smoothie with some of their products in it this morning, and I'm preparing BLTs for tonight. I actually buy their produce at the Rochester Farmers Market, and they've had a lot of success there. They also supply, like Katie, to many restaurants and grocery stores around the region. And as they've grown their business, they've seen a lot of opportunity for investing in new aspects and building their capital infrastructure. But again, they needed someone to help them take it from Post-its on the kitchen table to integrated point of sale systems and QuickBooks, and even trying to get high-speed internet to their farm. So we have been really excited to see the progress of these couple of businesses, and Robert's going to share with you another client that we've been working with.
Thanks, Courtney, for introducing a couple of our cohort members. You may have noticed that the tagline of our presentation is building community across the ag career continuum. And that's because HEN is not only for traditional farmers, but also any business or organization that touches that supply chain. So one of those organizations is the St. Cloud Area Farmers Market. They just celebrated their 36-year anniversary. They have about 15 permanent vendors right now and 10 to 15 rotating guest vendors. I'll be working closely with them over the next couple months to update their marketing plan, to advance some advertisement, and bring in some additional permanent vendors and make it a hub for healthy eating, healthy living, and environmental sustainability. So I'm excited to do that. Courtney introduced us to the idea of business workshops. Currently, we have 7 workshops planned across the state that are not explicit to agriculture, but the idea is to bring together rural entrepreneurs into spaces where they wouldn't normally meet each other. So the first workshop we put on in Cold Spring, and we partnered with the Cold Spring Area Chamber of Commerce. We brought in Ryan Pesh to talk about turning your hobby into a business, specifically looking at cottage food law. And so as you can see, the room is packed in the photo there, and we had a variety of folks, people who were selling cottage foods under the cottage food law, but also bankers. We had the president of the community bank. We had the person who owns the Cold Spring Bakery as well. So the idea is to really build community on a local and a statewide scale. And that takes us to our third goal, is building community. Speaking of workshops, we have one coming up next week on Wednesday, the 27th at 1 o'clock. It's going to be a webinar. And it's really going to be looking at resources to survive COVID-19. This one is specific to farmers. We'll have a conversation with Megan Roberts, who's from the University of Minnesota Extension Ag Business Management Team, as well as Ryan Brixius, who's the Rural Business Service representative for USDA, covering Southeastern Minnesota. We'll be covering a variety of other topics in the coming months as well, including introducing a new product to the market, specifically as we think about sustainability in an economic sense, as well as an environmental sense. The types of products that are in the market will shift. And so how do you bring a new product into the market and build a supply chain around that? We've been introduced to the importance of succession planning already. It's particularly important for farmers as the average age is around 55 years of age. And so over the next decade, as those folks leave the workforce, how do we replace them and make sure that we sustain our small farms? And of course, we'll be looking at some new and emerging trends in marketing, social media, as well as grant writing. Lastly, I'd just like to say thank you, but let's not let this conversation end here. Please connect with either myself or Courtney. There are still slots available in our first cohort. So if you connect with us soon, we may be able to get you paired with a coach and receive some of this free business technical assistance. We also have a second cohort that'll be running in the fall, and those applications will go live in August. You can check our website for information as that's updated. And lastly, I'd like to see you at our webinar next week. Please join us on the 27th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney and Robert. Great information. on, like I said, one of those initiatives that goes beyond the borders of just the communities that we serve, but touches a lot of people across rural Minnesota or rural America. It's always amazed me as we've done things like our development tour, our bus tour that we do each year, when we bring people out of metropolitan areas into our rural communities on a regular basis, we hear, man, we didn't hear about all these cool, we didn't even know these cool things that were going on in these smaller communities even existed. And so, I think HEN is an opportunity for us to share again the message that there are some really, really cool things that are happening in places that we probably don't expect them to happen. So I'm really excited about the work that our staff and Robert and Courtney specifically are doing around that initiative. And talking about our regional development tour, that kind of transitions us into our next presentation, which is on tourism, which we don't normally maybe think of specifically around economic development conversations, but it is a very huge part of the economy or economic and community development for a lot of our rural communities. And to talk about tourism and maybe getting beyond the brochure are our very own Jason Passmore and Spiff Slifka. Jason and Spiff, the meeting is yours.
Thanks, Chris. So we are going to switch gears a little bit here and talk some tourism. So this is something we all care about and we recognize as important, but maybe we don't fully understand the depth of this side of economic development. Here in Howard County, we work regionally when it comes to tourism because we all realize a tourist really doesn't care where your corporate, your county or your state lines exist. They just want to go and have an enjoyable experience. So regionalism is one of the many, many reasons that CEDA is such a great fit for us here in Northeast Iowa. My colleague, Spiff Slifka, is going to walk through some cool information that she has acquired in her numerous roles, but notably she is the chair of our Northeast Iowa Tourism Association, and she's also a board member and an officer for the Eastern Iowa Tourism Association. So Spiff, take it away.
Tourism is, well, people. Whether you're a campground, restaurant, or a city, you engage people. Today, we have to look at tourism differently and go beyond handing out the brochure.
And there we go.
Our 3 states alone generated almost $67 billion last year. Yes, tourism does create jobs and lower taxes. It is estimated that each American household would have to pay $1,400 more in taxes without revenue from travel and tourism. And that's a big deal for our rural communities. So, what does our tourist look like? Wait for it.
That's right, Clark. We can't do a tourism presentation without showing the Griswolds. And although many things have changed throughout the years, you will see in this photo, this is multi-generational and even pets in tourism today. So don't forget, everyone is a potential tourist.
Here are the fastest growing areas in the travel industry. Solo traveler, women, skip-gen, bleisure, voluntourism, multi-gen, philanthrotourism. Women, a powerful tourism partner. Whether a family trip, solo trip, or a men-only trip, women often make the arrangements. Keep her in mind when you advertise and market your destination. Skip-gen is the new trend where grandparents are taking their grandkids on holiday, and multi-gen is 3 generations or more traveling to one destination to vacation together. Why is this area growing so fast?
Well, thanks for asking, Spiff, because many of us in this meeting can identify with that second bullet point. I know that we sure can, and I sure bet that our generous CEO is with us in that 77%.
Volunteerism, tourism, and philanthrotourism is happening all over the world. It can also happen in our backyard. GE employees spent over 5 years in Cresco, Iowa, volunteering and donating their money. Now, here are some impressive stats from the Solo and Bleisure Travel Group. Solo travel makes up 11% of the US travel market. Last year, the United States travel industry generated 2.9 trillion in economic output to the GDP. Wow. When it comes to Bleisure travel, millennials expect to combine business with leisure. And I bet there's a few of us on today's meeting who make up that 78%. These two groups use 3.1 travel apps to plan their trips. Hashtag solo travel is associated with more than 5.2 million posts on Instagram. And that's not all due to millennials. What is the future tourist looking for? Personal experience, technology, safety. We in rural communities have a lot of experience offering personal experiences to our visitors. Who wouldn't want to paddleboard, take a private tour, or become a day artist? Businesses can offer a personal experience to residents and visitors. For example, banks, make a video of you and your community. Show us how you work with your clients to pick up trash one day, help a startup business the next, and flip pancakes at the local festival. Show us how we all connect and make it personal. Visitors expect technology. Short-term and long-term stays are now offering customized technology. IoT technology, Internet of Things, can connect you to phone check-in. Hey, no more waiting at the line at the counter. To controlling the keyless entry, exit, lights, heaters, and air conditioning. And that's all before you even enter the room. Watch TV in your bathroom mirror while you get ready for the day. And stream your own shows from your account instead of watching the hotel lineup. You may be assigned your own personal robot to make your overall experience even better. Smart Luggage is robotic, following you around, and now offers notifications if you forgot to pack that phone charger that you brought with you. Hey, I know what you're thinking. How can I compete with the big guys? I have no technology. Well, visitors expect good Wi-Fi reception when choosing a destination. Unless you're marketing a no technology experience, you should have Wi-Fi. Be creative. My Broadband, serving Southeast Minnesota and Northeast Iowa, just put in a hotspot in a park in Cresco. Ask your local provider to partner with you and come up with some solutions. Texting, check-in, and streaming are all places to start offering tech services. Just because we're rural doesn't give us a pass. Well, we all want to be safe, but due to COVID-19, it's imperative we address this issue. Visitors will be traveling closer to home, looking for lodging that's clean, driving rather than flying, and ensuring their trips. Now, here's where our rural communities have the jump on the big guys. We answer the phone. We can explain our safety measures. We get to know our travelers. We are not expecting 4.6 million visitors this year. We can do this. Yes, tourism recovery is going to begin locally. And here's an example of one city working with their local chamber to reassure visitors and residents that they are being proactive and they care that you feel safe. Yep, we are open for business. So let's make that pledge to offer personal experiences, better technology, and safe practices. When marketing on social media, if you use your state's hashtag, the State Tourism Office notices. So enjoy Illinois. Tell visitors, yes, this is Iowa, and explore Minnesota.
It is true. We are stronger together. So thanks, Spiff. If anyone has questions, feel free to contact us, whichever way is easiest. And we will kick it back to you, Chris.
Thanks, guys. That's awesome. And now I know what I'll be watching tonight. Of course, it's going to be National Lampoon's Vacation. You got me all primed up to watch it now. So thanks for that. As you can see, these are just some highlights of a few of the things that our staff are working on for our communities and beyond. Our annual report for 2019 just came out. It was included in our last month's newsletter, and it's also included on our website. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out yet and want to learn about some more of the exciting things that are going on in each of our communities, you'll be able to do that through our annual report. And that leads me to our grand poobah, our president and CEO, Ron Ziegler, and his state of the organization for 2019 and 2020. Ron, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris. I didn't know that I would be called the grand poobah today, but that's fine. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to be part of this meeting. We most certainly appreciate that. As Chris said, I am Ron Ziegler. I am very proud to be the president and CEO of CEDA. For those of you that have attended past meetings, you know that we typically have a great lunch after this meeting, and those that wish to go play golf at a nearby golf course. And as most of you know, these annual meeting days, we have struggled with the weather. We've had rain, we've had 13 inches of snow, we've had wind, and we've had cold. And here we are in one of the best days that we've ever had for our annual meeting, when we are stuck inside without the ability for all of us to get together. I guess we'll look forward to golfing next year. I do hope you're all healthy and safe, and I do agree that we will all get through this. I want to thank Joya and Chris for putting this annual meeting together. As Chris mentioned, they did have a wonderful venue and annual meeting all laid out for our typical annual meeting setup, and then the decision was made that the format wouldn't be possible, so they did shift gears and move us forward with this virtual meeting. Thank you to Joya, and thank you to Chris as well. I am very proud to be before you for the 16th time, a time where we don't know what the future holds, a time where governmental bodies don't know what the new norm will be, a time where businesses up and down Main Street, commercial areas, and industrial parks are adapting in a different way to try and survive. These past couple of months have been a struggle for all of us. During this same time, CEDA has remained strong and growing. We have consistently been available for our contracts, our communities, and our businesses. We have continued our company thought of finding ways to do things rather than ways to not do things. We try to say yes rather than no. We are a ray of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel, a sense of optimism through these times. We have been here during these times. If it is for a business owner to run an idea past us, a sympathetic ear to listen, or a shoulder to cry on, we have been here. And I am so very proud of our team, especially during these times. I want to say thank you to our team members. CEDA exists because of these people and the passion they have for rural America. Every team member, from the ones that have been with us for years to the 3 new team members that joined our team very recently, has stepped up without hesitation, without requests for additional compensation, without complaining about this, that, and the other thing. And for that, I am very grateful. With the 3 recent additions and a summer intern that has joined us, we are now at 30 team members. All CEDA team member contact information and bios are on the CEDA website, and I do invite you to take a look at those. The CEDA team is comprised of not only people that are passionate for rural America, but passionate about helping in any way they can. I believe we have assembled a very strong professional team. Recently, we have announced 2 promotions within our team. Courtney Burgee Swanson has been promoted to the management team in a position of Vice President of Development and Collaborative Services, and we have promoted Mary Kennedy to the leadership team in a position of Director of Training and Professional Development. Both of these promotions are well-deserved, and I'm very excited about what this means moving forward. I want to take a moment to thank our communities, counties, and organizations that contract services with CEDA. We now have slightly over 60 different organizations that we contract with. All of you have been through a lot over the past few months, and you have, without hesitation, supported the decisions that had to have been made in how best to continue to support you, your internal boards, your citizens, and your businesses. There hasn't been one instance where criticisms have risen as to why something is being done or not being done. Your continued support of CEDA and our team is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to continuing to work with you through these times and on into the rest of 2020 and beyond. Over the past year and a half, we have seen a great uptick in communities and contracts that we serve. New contracts with Cannon Falls, Pine Island, Dawson, Madison, Manorville, Zumbrota, the Itasca County Economic Development Commission, the Northwest Illinois Economic Development Organization, Montevideo, and Winnebago. We've also increased contract time in a number of communities, including Preston, Stewartville, Howard County, Houston County, Cold Spring, and Jackson. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your confidence in CEDA. I would also like to take a moment to introduce the board of directors. Without their guidance and leadership, we wouldn't be where we are at today. Michael P. Toohey is the chairman of our board. Larry Anderson is the vice chair. Bill Rowley is treasurer. Gary Gooder is secretary. Brian Cranbeer is a director. Dwayne Lee is a director. And Richard Bonesteiner is a director. The board serves without any compensation, per diem, or the like. They serve because of the passion they have for doing what they can for rural America. Thank you for your time commitments and willingness to volunteer for the board. It is appreciated. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge two recent retirements from the board. First, Randy Domeyer served on the board since 2015. I certainly appreciate the perspective that Randy has brought to the board, and we wish him the best in his retirement from the CEDA board and from Merchants Bank. Secondly, Mike Toohey has served on the board for the past 14 years. That is a long time, considering he only agreed to come on the board in 2006 to complete one open term for 2 years. He served as chair of the board for much of his tenure on the board, and I certainly appreciate how he runs a meeting. Mike has been a great advocate for CEDA. He has been a mentor to me, which I greatly appreciate, but most importantly, Mike is a dear friend. Mike, I wish you the best, and we'll hopefully see you on the golf course soon. I also want to take a moment to thank our investors. Without your confidence in our organization, there is no way we could function as efficiently and effectively as possible. You saw a listing of these investors previously, but I do want to acknowledge all of them. The Otto Bremer Trust, Ascentech, Dairyland Power, People's Energy Cooperative, My Energy, Compeer Financial, City of Stewartville, the Toohey Corporation, Community Venture Network, Bremer Bank, CUSB, F&M Community Bank, Goodhue County Cooperative Electric, Great River Energy, Hawkins Ash CPAs, ITC Midwest, Merchants Bank, Minnesota Business Finance Corporation, Mississippi Welder Supply, Root River State Bank, Steel Waseca Cooperative Electric, Alumline, BevCom, Braun Intertech, Citizen State Bank, Cresco Bank and Trust, First Southeast Bank, Foresight Bank, Rochester City Lines, RSP Architects, Rushford State Bank, Southeast Minnesota 504 Development Corporation, Think Mutual Bank, Woodseth Smith and Nolting, First Farmers and Merchants Bank, Economic Initiatives of Cannon Falls, Home Federal, Mayo Health System, Mayo Foundation, Red Wing Ignite, Olmsted Medical Center, Dakota Electric, Short Elliott Hendrickson, Prairie Island Tribal Council, Woodseth Smith and Nolting, Hamel House Company LLC. And I also want to thank all of our other investors that are funded on per project basis, such as the Regional Development Tour and the CEDA Partnership event. Thank you very much for your support and your investment dollars. You've heard before that we have expanded our team to 30. You heard that we've expanded our number and dollar amount of investors. You heard that we've expanded our number of contracts and organizations that we help. We've also expanded our services. We've expanded our efforts in assisting communities with housing reports. Kathy Enerson of our company has done a wonderful job in working in that area. Through a contract with South Central Service Cooperative, we have expanded into assisting in the workforce development area and have recently brought Emily Davis into the CEDA team to work in that area. We are also actively looking at a way to help communities with the community comprehensive planning aspect. We do feel that planning in our smaller communities will pave a path to the future that elected officials in these communities can utilize when making major decisions. We have not filled this position as of yet. Through the efforts of CEDA team members Robert Harris and Courtney Burgee-Swanson, you just heard about the grant award from the state of Minnesota to create the HEN project. We are very excited about that project, and we do hope that the agricultural entrepreneurs will join this program. You heard about the partnership with DEED to facilitate the COVID-19 emergency disaster loans. We are proud to have been part of that effort. The CEDA team has put some 700 hours into this program over a short period of time to get these dollars out to businesses. And the businesses are so very thankful. We have received a number of emails from businesses thanking us for the assistance, saying that without the work that we put in, their business would no longer be in existence. We also continue to work on other projects, including the expanded marketing program, the government relations program. You heard Abby talk about the grant writing and the dollars that have been brought in over that program. We also are working on the small cities development block grants with successful projects that have impacted the cities of Hayfield, Caledonia, Eota, Elgin, Houston, Dodge Center, Red Wing, Blue Earth, and Leroy. We're also still part of the Small Business Development Center, providing business counseling. Last year, we provided 27 businesses with 138 hours of counseling. We're also working on a new program that you have heard a little bit about in the past, and that is CEDA's proprietary market intelligence dashboard. And we are excited to see how that looks and how that will impact positively communities in the future. There are many other projects that you've read about in our newsletters and our annual report. The success of CEDA is not the bottom line financials. You've heard me talk about this before. It is the projects that are completed with the assistance of many communities, counties, and organizations. Yes, we need to be aware of our bottom line, but we also consider grant dollars that we bring into communities, businesses assisted, jobs created, storefronts filled, quality of life things, and the like when we look at how successful we are in any given year. In addition to all the other organizations we have discussed, we are very proud of the strong partner relationships that we have established with agencies that can assist us in our efforts. These include DEED, Southeast Minnesota League of Municipalities, Minnesota Association of Small Cities, USDA, Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, SEMCAC, Upper Explorerland Regional Council of Governments, Northeast Iowa Community College, Eastern Iowa Tourism Association, University of Minnesota Extension, Destination Medical Center, Rochester Area Economic Development, Southeast Minnesota Together, numerous engineering and architectural firms, and many others that I may have inadvertently left off. It's all about relationships, and I'm so thankful of the relationships that CEDA has made and continues to make. As you'll remember, CEDA is a nonprofit agency. We are unique in the fact that we are self-sustaining. Our existence has zero reliance upon a state allocation or a foundation gift. 90% of our budget comes from the services we provide. If we don't do good work, we are out the door, which we should be. CEDA is blessed to have good people working for it, good people on the board directing it, a network of good people to collaborate with, good people that invest in us, and good people that we contract with. Together, we continue to make good things happen. I'm very biased when it comes to CEDA. I do believe that we have an awesome team of professional, hardworking, committed individuals. We have a board that allows the team members to move forward with the vision. We have investors that believe in what we do and how we do it. And we have contract holders that see the benefit of the success we bring, the support from all the team and the relationships we build. After what all of us have been through over these last few months, I believe that CEDA is needed now more than ever before. We will continue to bring forth thoughts and ideas. We will continue to work closely with local officials and staff, and we will continue to work with businesses during these trying times. We will continue to be the ray of hope. I do believe that together anything can and will happen. I do look forward to the day that we can all be together and present this annual meeting to you in person once again. On behalf of our team members and our board, I thank you for your support and your confidence in our organization. We look forward to working with you and for you as we move forward with a passion for rural America. Thanks for everything you do, and stay safe. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks very much, Ron. As you can tell from all of our staff, we are super excited about all of the things that are going on in our rural communities. I'm super passionate about helping in any way that we can. Like I had mentioned during the presentations, I want to leave you with this slide for the contact information on the 4 different presentations that were given by our staff members today. And I want to say thank you again for joining us. Again, I know it's a weird world, like I mentioned, for all of us together and all of us individually, and taking time out of your busy schedules to join us and hear about this great work is more than we can ask. And so we appreciate that very much. At the end of this, the world will look a little different, and CEDA will look a little different the next time we all get together in the same place to celebrate this work. We have new faces, we have new communities, and we have new initiatives, and we will have new partners. So as we look to the future and we look to celebrate together in the future, I think we'll be excited about those changes, and we'll be continuing to press forward as an organization to figure out all of the ways in the new normal that we can help. So thank you again for your time. It is greatly appreciated on behalf of the entire team at CEDA, and we will be talking to you very, very soon. Thank you all.